Good morning, care e cari connazionali. Welcome to this event we organized with the Home Office on the new UK immigration system. If you have questions, please send them to economico.amblondra@esteri.it, which you can also see in the screen. I'm now pleased to give the floor to the Ambassador of Italy to the UK, Raffaele Trombetta.
Thank you, grazie. Thank you, Francesca. And I want to welcome to all citizens and the companies to this webinar on living, working and studying in the UK after Brexit, organized with the Home Office, which I want to thank. And a special thanks to the Minister for Future Borders and Immigration, Kevin Foster MP, for being with us today. Thank you, Minister. This webinar will focus on the new UK immigration system, and is part of our Brexit information campaign for Italian citizens and company, which has been intensified in the last few months. In this event, we will also touch briefly on the development of the EU settlement scheme. The latest data we have says that the Home Office has received more than 5 million applications from European citizens. A good part, I would say about 4.8 million, of which have been successfully processed so far. Of those, about 500,000, precisely 491,000, came from Italian citizens residing in the UK, and 465,000 Italians are registered under the scheme at this time. One point I'd like to make is that the largest group of Italians, 82.4 of those registered, is that between the ages of 18 and 64. Now it appears that therefore there is still work to do in order to raise awareness of the settlement scheme and to promote registration with the scheme among children, and especially those over 65. So with only 100 days before the final deadline for the registration, which I remind is the 30 June 2021, I would like also to take this opportunity to encourage all our nationals not to wait any longer to register. In this regard, our information campaign supporting the one run by the Home Office continues. Just yesterday, we held an online information event in Italian dedicated to the settlement scheme, and we will organize others in the coming months. I would also take this opportunity to reiterate, I hope that the UK authorities will use some, where they're allowed, flexibility after the June deadline for those vulnerable people who have not registered, even if they had the right to do so. As I mentioned, our focus today will be the new immigration system. Home Office officials, whom I thank again, will illustrate the main features of the system and of different visa categories. The new system has important consequences for all Italians wishing to work or study in the country, as well as for companies in relation to the selection, hiring, and mobility of personnel. Today, we aim to provide relevant information on different visas available, respective requirements for them, and permitted activities under the 6 months visa-free regime. We have already released a specific video and a document in Italian on this topic, both available on our website. Today's event is an occasion to gain a more in-depth view of the new system directly from the Home Office. Our speakers will answer in the Q&A to questions you already sent in the past few days, but you can keep writing to the same address and we will reply to them by email if we cannot cover them today. Well, these have been challenging times due not only to Brexit-related issues, but also to COVID-related restrictions. While recent developments suggest a reasonable optimism for the next month, I wish to confirm our engagement to assist our fellow citizens and companies. L'ambasciata, i consolati, il sistema Italia nel suo insieme siamo a vostra disposizione per tutto il sostegno e l'assistenza tanto più necessari in questo periodo difficile per tutti. Thanks again, and I will now hand over to Minister Kevin Foster. Please, Minister, and thank you again.
Well, thank you, Ambassador, for the introduction, and many thanks to our friends at the Italian Embassy for helping set up this event and inviting me along today. I'd also like to express our appreciation, Home Office's appreciation, to the team at the British Embassy in Rome for their help in publicising today's event as well. And it's great to have so many people in attendance. Obviously, it's a shame to be having to join you virtually rather than in person. And certainly we're looking forward to when we can again enjoy the hospitality of our friends at the Italian Embassy here in London for events to promote the fantastic ties between our two nations. But I must start by acknowledging just what a challenging time this is, not evidenced by how we have to hold these events completely virtually. The Home Office is committed to playing its part as the world recovers from the devastation of the global coronavirus pandemic, and I hope people have noticed some of the concessions and some of the changes that we've made to help reduce the impact on people who, through no fault of their own, may not be able to travel at this time. Before I talk about the UK's new points-based system, I will briefly mention the success story, which has been the EU settlement scheme. And since its launch in 2019, as the Ambassador touched on, we've received over 5.1 million applications, including over 472,000 from Italian nationals, the vast majority of whom have used their smartphone and documents to apply in a fairly short and simple process. All EU citizens in the UK before the end of 2020 who are resident here before 31st of December can apply before the 30th of June deadline to get the status they deserve under the scheme, which guarantees they can carry on with their lives here in the UK as now. And just to reassure those on the call, though, we will allow late applications where there are reasonable grounds for them, and we will shortly be publishing some non-exhaustive guidance as to what that will be. But we would encourage people, if anyone's got any concerns, now's the time to get your application into the scheme. And there's help available online, on the phone, and through some of our grant-funded organisations who can help support people who need just that little bit more help in getting their application in. On the 1st of January, the UK introduced a new points-based immigration system, which recognises skills, talent and potential, regardless of nationality, as vital components to the UK's social and economic prosperity. The UK's new points-based system will enable businesses to attract the brightest and best individuals from around the world with simplified rules compared to our previous system for non-EEA nationals. Our new system is specifically designed to show the whole world our United Kingdom is open for business. We want the top talent from around the world to contribute to our economy and society and help drive the UK forward. I want to be clear, we are not closing the door. What we've done is designed a system where we can choose who comes through it based on the positive impact they can have in our country, not which country their passport comes from. As part of the points-based system, we're also committed to delivering radical changes to the sponsorship process, streamlining and simplifying it for users and substantially reducing the time it takes to bring in a skilled worker. For employers sponsoring skilled workers, the process has already been streamlined to reduce the time it takes to bring someone in by approximately 8 weeks. We now intend to further reduce the bureaucracy and the burden on businesses wanting to sponsor skilled workers over the coming year. The new points-based system will also cater for the most highly skilled workers more generally, students, and has a range of other specialist work routes, including for global leaders and innovators. And we believe this will contribute to our economic growth as we recover from the economic impact of the pandemic. Furthermore, recent changes to the immigration rules have built on our world-leading global talent route by enabling those at the pinnacle of their careers to bypass the endorsement requirements and qualify if they've received a prestigious prize. In summer 2021, we will also open the new graduate route to enable those who have completed a course at undergraduate level or above to work in the UK after they've completed their studies. And this is at any level, the only exemption being working as a professional sports person, because there's a specific visa for that category. And we believe this is a major investment in our student visa, major improvement in our student visa offer, and will ensure our world-class higher education sector can continue to attract the brightest minds from across the world. We've spent time preparing businesses and users through a programme of engagement, so they are fully aware of what it means for them and understand how the system operates. Despite the obvious challenges of delivering engagement sessions over the last few months, we've been able to hold events for over 11,000 stakeholders. I'd like to close by saying the UK recognises and values the contribution immigration makes to our society, culture and economy. And we look forward to welcoming talent from across the world, in particular, more friends from Italy, in addition to those who arrived in the time of free movement in the years to come. And I think with that, it's probably time for me to stop and pass over to my officials who will be able to talk through the point system in slightly greater depth and also be able to answer any questions on the EU settlement scheme those taking part may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor and Ambassador Trombetta, for your remarks. We'll now move to the presentation on the points-based system and on the EU settlement scheme by Dan Petriello from the Home Office. Then we'll move to the Q&A session with Dan and with Carrie Golding and Richard Jackson from the Home Office as well. We'll try to address all the questions you sent in the past few days. And we'll try to cover also those who might be sending during this stream. If we don't succeed in this, we'll try and cover them via email, and we'll surely do so. So, Dan, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Francesca. And just to say thank you and well done to your team for putting on such an excellent event. So good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. My name's Dan Petriello. I work for the Home Office's external engagement team, and together with my colleagues, Richard Jackson, who is one of our policy leads, and Carrie Golding, who is our head of engagement, together we'll give you some key information about the new immigration system and the EU settlement scheme. We'll also signpost you to all the available resources to help you understand the new system. What I'd like to begin with is just going through some key information about the EU settlement scheme and support available for those Italian nationals who have yet to make an application. So just some key headlines really for the EU settlement scheme. Italian nationals and their family members still have time to apply to the scheme. Those living in the UK by the 31st of December of last year are eligible to make an application, and they have until the 30th of June to do so. So there's just under 100 days left. So during our grace period up until the end of June, employers, landlords, public service providers will continue to accept the passports and national ID cards of EU citizens as evidence of permission, as they have previously done. Now, the Minister and the Ambassador have gone through the statistics already, so there's already been a significant number of applications from Italian nationals. We've seen particularly large numbers from the boroughs of Tower Hamlets, Newham and Brent in London. And outside of London, we've seen large numbers of applications from Manchester and Birmingham. Now, the scheme gives EU nationals a status under UK law so that they can continue to be eligible for public services, public funds and pensions. Now, the Home Office has been really clear from the offset that we are looking for reasons to grant people status, and we're not trying to make this a difficult process. Now, it's a straightforward and free application process that has 3 steps. So the first step is proof of identity. We need to know that the person applying is an EU national, and they can use their passport or national ID card to do so. They can do this via post. They can do it in person at local authority sites across the UK, subject to COVID restrictions, or they can use our app that the Minister mentioned earlier. This allows the applicant to read the biometric chip in their passport or national ID card and take a photo and match those images, much like the e-gates at the airport. And that's available on Apple and Android devices. The second part is proof of residence. So we just need to know that the applicant has in fact been in the UK. Now, the easiest way for an applicant to do this is if they provide their national insurance number in their application. If they do provide their national insurance number, we run some automated checks against our tax and benefit records to see whether this can establish the applicant's residency. We run these checks, we then present them back to the applicant so they can see what we found and allow them to fill in any gaps. Around 3/4 of applicants who provide their national insurance number do not need to give us any further evidence. Now, where people do need to provide evidence for their residency, or they choose to not provide their national insurance number, we accept a really broad range of evidence, and our caseworkers will actively reach out to people to discuss their circumstances and help them find the evidence that best suits their circumstances. But we do accept things such as council tax bills, bank statements, letters from GPs or healthcare professionals, mobile phone bills. There is a lot of flexibility. We do also do a criminality check on every application, and this does not affect the vast majority of applications, and I think this is demonstrated by our statistics. Now, applicants will receive settled or pre-settled status based upon the information they are provided to the Home Office. But whether someone has pre-settled or settled status, they've been accepted through the scheme and they have secured their rights to remain here. Pre-settled status is for those who've been in the UK for less than 5 years. All those who receive pre-settled status receive 5 years leave to remain in the UK, and they can then apply for settled status in the future if they want to, when they have completed 5 years continuous residence in the UK. Settled status is for those who've been in the UK for over 5 years. Now, for settled status, a person needs to demonstrate 5 years continuous residency, and this is 6 months within every 12-month period, and we will allow one absence of up to 12 months for a reason such as working, studying abroad, military service, caring for a relative. With settled status, a person can stay in the UK for as long as they wish. They receive indefinite leave to remain. They can also leave the UK for up to 5 years without this status lapsing. They can also apply for British citizenship in the future if that's something they want to do and they meet the requirements. Now, we've got a lot of support available for those who want to make applications to the settlement scheme. We've got a dedicated contact centre that's open 7 days a week. You can call them and you can email them. The staff at the contact centre are casework trained, so they're equipped to deal with in-depth queries. The Home Office has also made £17 million available to a variety of organisations across the UK to help those who need more assistance in making an application. At the moment, there are 72 different funded organisations across the UK. We also offer an assisted digital service for those who need some extra assistance in the digital element of the application process if they feel they don't have the appropriate skills. We also have materials translated into Italian. We have toolkits for employers, local authorities, and videos on how to use the app. And you can find all this information on gov.uk. And what we will do is make sure that in the comment section of the YouTube video, we will post the links to the relevant guides or anything that we refer to today. Now, I just thought I'd quickly mention that in the UK, right to work checks for EU citizens will not change until after the end of June. So until the end of June, Italian nationals can continue to use their passport or national ID card to evidence their right to work. So the Italian nationals may already have status under the settlement scheme or even under the new points-based system, but during this grace period, employers can continue to accept passports and national ID cards. Now, something that's not linked to the settlement scheme, but just something to make you aware of, is that on the 10th of December, the government opened up the Frontier Worker Permit Scheme. So protected frontier workers can apply for and be issued with a Frontier Worker Permit. Now, this is if you are an Italian national who lives outside of the UK, but started working in the UK on or before the 31st of December of last year and continue to do so. You can't be primarily resident in the UK, and you may be eligible if you spent less than 180 days total in the UK over the course of the previous 12 months. So the applications are similar to the settlement scheme. It's online, it's free of charge, and can be made from inside or outside of the UK. Until the 1st of July, protected frontier workers can continue to enter the UK for work just using their passport or national ID card. But from the 1st of July, frontier workers who are non-Irish will be required to hold a valid frontier worker permit in order to enter the UK. Now, what I'd like to do now is move on to the UK's new immigration system and make you aware of some of the key routes. So, anyone coming to the UK for work, including EU citizens, need to demonstrate that they meet a specific set of requirements for which they will score points. Now, a particular feature of this route is the new tradable points aspect, and it allows some flexibility by allowing applicants to trade points if they have relevant qualifications or work in a job that's on the UK's shortage occupation list. So the main requirements for the skilled worker route are that the applicant must have an offer of a job from an approved sponsor. The applicant must speak English to an acceptable standard. There will be a criminality threshold, and the job must be at a minimum skill level. So in the UK, that's RQF level 3 or equivalent and above, so A level or equivalent. So that's the Diploma di Esame di Stato equivalent in Italian. So that is the skill level of the job. Workers will not need to hold that formal qualification. It's the skill level of the job they are coming to do, which is important. And migrants must also meet the required salary for the job. This will either be the general salary threshold, which on the advice of the Independent Migration Advisory Committee, we have lowered to £25,600, or it will be the going rate for the job if that's higher than the general salary threshold. So the changes that we've made to this route, so in comparison to the previous route, which was only available to non-EU nationals, there is no cap on numbers on this route. There is no longer a requirement for a resident labour market test, and that skills threshold has been expanded and the salary threshold lowered. Now, the key element of the tradable points, and I'll go through what that means in practice and run through some examples with you over the next couple of slides. Now, when we talk about a points-based system, what do we mean by points? Well, for a skilled worker visa, applicants need to score a total of 70 points. So by meeting the mandatory criteria, so that's the job offer from an approved Home Office sponsor, a job at the right skill level and meeting the English language requirement, they will score 50 points. To qualify for the skilled worker visa, they must obtain a further 20 tradable points through a combination of points for their salary, a job on the shortage occupation list, or a relevant qualification. So I've mentioned that for every occupation, there is a required salary. Now, so that is the general salary threshold of 25,600 or the going rate for the job in the UK, whichever is higher. And the appropriate salaries for the different occupations is actually laid out in an annex of the immigration rules. So, for example, a civil engineer has to earn £35,000, but a quality assurance technician has to earn £25,600. However, it is possible to reduce the salary requirement if the migrant can score points for their attributes or the nature of their job. So if the job is on the UK shortage occupation list, the migrant can get a 20% discount against that salary requirement. If the migrant has a PhD that's relevant to their job, that's worth 10%. And that rises to 20% if the PhD is in a STEM subject, so science, technology, engineering, or maths. New entrants to the labour market can also secure a 30% discount, and these discounts apply to whichever sum the migrant would otherwise need to earn for that particular occupation, whether that figure is based on the general salary threshold or the going rate. Now, there is a general floor of £20,480, below which a salary cannot drop when those discounts have been applied. And there are also a number of public sector occupations that are subject to separate arrangements based on published pay scales. So things such as GPs, doctors and teachers. Now, in the future, we will retain the ability to increase the number of attributes which you can score points to help us meet the needs of the economy. And I will now like to run through a couple of examples of how the points actually work. So in this scenario, the individual is a lab technician. So she meets the mandatory requirements. So she's got a job offer from an approved sponsor. It's at the right skill level and they meet the English language requirement. So they score the 50 points there. Now she's been offered a salary of £21,000, which is below the general salary threshold of £25,600. So she doesn't score any points for her salary. So she's 20 points short. But in this case, the applicant holds a PhD in a STEM subject, which is relevant to her job. So she gets 20 points for that. And that's how she reaches the 70-point total. In this next scenario, the individual is coming to the UK to work as a general office manager. So we know they need to reach 70 points in total. They meet the mandatory requirements, so they've got a job offer from an approved sponsor. It's at the right skill level, and they've got the English language skills, so they score 50 points. Now, this particular role isn't on the UK shortage occupation list, so he doesn't score any points for his job. The going rate for this role in the UK is £22,700, which means that the general salary threshold of £25,600 applies. The applicant has been offered a salary of £26,300. So because this is above that general salary threshold, he scores 20 points for his salary and therefore accumulates the 70-point total. Now, at the moment, a lot of businesses are considering whether or not they need to become a Home Office sponsor. And we've engaged extensively with businesses and have made a number of changes to the way this process works. So we have removed our resident labour market test, we've suspended the cap on numbers, and we've changed the way that we issue certificates of sponsorship. Cumulatively, this means a reduction in the process of up to 8 weeks. It's crucial that employers recognise you don't need to become a sponsor to employ someone from the resident labour market, and that includes those millions of EU nationals who've applied to stay under the settlement scheme. We will now also allow migrants to switch into different immigration routes without having to leave the UK, though they will need to meet the requirements of the route that they are switching into. We are looking at whole-scale improvements to this process that we're working on at the moment, and they will happen throughout 2022. Now, I've mentioned becoming a sponsor, but what does that actually mean? So if you're thinking of becoming a sponsor, the first thing to do is check whether any of your planned vacancies are eligible under one of our licenses, and you can do this on gov.uk. You will have to provide documentation to support your application. These will include things such as financial and business records, the hierarchy of your management structure. And to get a license, you can't have any unspent criminal convictions for immigration offences or certain other crimes. When you apply for a license, you need to appoint someone within your business to manage the sponsorship process and to access the Home Office sponsor account system. You have to pay a fee, which depends upon the size of your business, and you apply online for your license. Now, in terms of actually bringing someone into the UK to work under this system, when you have selected a candidate, they must make a visa application to work in the UK. You first endorse your prospective employee's visa application via your sponsor license account, and you request and issue them with an electronic certificate of sponsorship. You may have to pay the immigration skills surcharge if that's required, and the employee must then submit a visa application under the same category as your license. If their visa application is successful, they may then travel to the UK and start working. As I previously mentioned, this whole process is currently being looked at, and we're making improvements to the way that this system works. I'd now like to run through some of the other key routes that you may be interested in. The first thing to note is that the UK's new points-based system does not seek to replicate free movement, and it does not include a route for those who do not meet the skills and salary thresholds. We know that employers in the UK are going to need to adjust to this, and it's about shifting the focus of our economy to concentrate on the investment in technology, automation, and training up the UK's domestic labour force, particularly given the impacts of COVID-19. However, we do believe that the changes we've made to the new immigration system provide greater flexibility for employers if they do wish to bring in a migrant to undertake skilled work. Crucially, we've now got over 5 million applications to the settlement scheme, so those individuals do not need to be sponsored. And we also believe that our seasonal workers pilot will provide employers with further flexibility. Now, students also come under the new points-based system. This was actually the first of our new routes to go live. This went live in October of last year. And there are no limits on numbers on this route. And this route is based on the previous Tier 4 route that was working well for non-EU migrants. We're also introducing this summer a new graduate route, which allows those who've completed a degree at a higher education provider with a good track record of compliance in the UK to stay in the UK and work for 2 years. They can work at any skill level and then switch into one of those skilled work routes if they find a suitable job. We've also extended the period of time in which a student can apply for permission to come to the UK before the start of their course from 3 to 6 months. Now, for visitors, so in most cases, visitors can come to the UK for up to 6 months. A visitor may enter the UK multiple times, but they may not live in the UK by means of repeat visits. They can't routinely work or access public funds, but we will permit study of up to 6 months under the standard visit route. The UK government's already made clear that citizens of the EU will not require visas to come and visit the UK. However, we recommend that everyone reads our visitor rules, as there are a number of activities that can be undertaken under the standard visit route. These include things such as attending meetings and conferences, negotiating contracts, and taking part in research. But if you're not familiar with the UK visitor rules, we do recommend you read them and understand what are the different activities you can undertake without a visa. Now, from January 2021, we've extended our global talent route to EU nationals. Under the global talent route, the most highly skilled workers who can achieve the required level of points are able to enter the UK without a job offer if they are endorsed by a Home Office recognised endorsing body. This is designed to attract recognised global leaders across science, humanities, engineering, the arts and digital technology to the UK. We've also made some changes to the route, so the criteria for consideration of senior appointments has been revised, so the route caters for those at earlier stages of their career, not necessarily those established leaders. The definition of the types of academic and research roles that qualify has been expanded, and there's been a points assessment introduced in line with the introduction of the points-based system. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our startup and innovator routes. So the UK government wants to make the UK the best place in the world for high growth, innovative companies and startups. Our innovator and startup routes are for those who want to set up an innovative business in the UK. With the startup visa, as well as the eligibility requirements that you can see on the slide, you must also be able to show that your business idea is a new idea. You cannot join in a business that's already trading. It's got to be innovative. It's an original business idea, different from anything else on the market, and viable. It has the potential for growth. You must also, before you apply, be endorsed by an authorised body. and you can stay in the UK for 2 years, and on the startup visa, or you can switch into this visa from another visa whilst you're in the UK. You cannot apply to extend this visa. Now, similar to the startup visa, the innovator visa is you must show that your business idea is new, innovative and viable. As with the startup visa, before you apply, you need to have your business or business idea assessed by an endorsing body, and there are separate lists of endorsing bodies for the startup visa and the innovator visa. Again, we've got some of the requirements on the screen, but there are a few differences. There is a requirement to have £50,000 in investment funds to apply for your innovator visa. You don't need any investment funds if your business is already established and has been endorsed for an earlier visa, or if you have changed your business and already agreed it with your endorsing body. And whereas with the startup visa, you can work in another job as well as working for your business, with the innovator visa, you cannot do any work outside of your business. You can stay for 3 years if you either come to the UK on an innovator visa or switch into this visa from another category. You can apply to extend this visa for another 3 years when your visa is due to expire, and there is no limit on the extensions for this. You may also be able to apply for settlement when you've lived in the UK for the set period. The Chancellor announced in a recent budget that the UK's innovator visa will be reviewed with a view to making it easier to obtain endorsement and apply for this visa. There are also 2 intra-company routes for transferring staff overseas to work in the UK to do a skilled job at a UK branch of a company or linked employer in the UK. So the intra-company transfer, this is for established employees who are being transferred by their overseas employer to do a skilled job for a linked employer in the UK. We also have the intra-company graduate trainee route. This is for employees taking part in a structured graduate training programme who are being transferred by their overseas employer to a linked employer in the UK. Now, to qualify for the intra-company visa, an applicant must be an existing employee of an organisation that's been approved by the Home Office as a sponsor, and have a certificate of sponsorship issued by the employer with information about the role they've been offered in the UK. You've got to be doing a job that's on the list of eligible occupations, and you must be paid at least £41,500 for the intra-company transfer visa, or at least £23,000 for the intra-company graduate trainee visa. Now, the individual requirements will depend upon the role. I'd like to just tell you quickly about the Tier 5 Temporary Worker Government Authorised Exchange. This is for those who want to come to the UK for a short time for work experience, or to do training or an overseas language programme, research or fellowship through one of the approved government authorised exchange schemes. You must have a sponsor and you must meet the other eligibility requirements, but you can stay in the UK for up to 12 or 24 months, dependent upon the scheme you're applying to. And you can find a list of the current list of authorised exchanges on gov.uk. Announced in December, we expanded our seasonal workers pilot. So this year there are 30,000 visas available for those who want to come to the UK and work on UK farms for a period of up to 6 months. This is up from 10,000 visas that were available last year. Workers on this route play a vital role in helping horticultural growers pick and package their produce in the UK. This is for workers aged 18 or over to come to the UK to undertake seasonal employment in the edible horticultural sector. Workers can be sponsored for a maximum of 6 months, and workers cannot stay in the UK for longer than 6 months within any 12-month period. Seasonal workers are not permitted to bring family members with them on this route. Now, in January, a lot of the key routes, the main change was bringing EU nationals into existing routes that were previously only available to non-EU nationals. These include routes such as our routes for creatives and charity workers. Alongside all of our changes that we've gone through, there's an ongoing simplification project to make all of our immigration rules and guidance more straightforward and clearer to interpret. We're also looking at what lessons we can learn from the EU settlement scheme, where we've processed a lot of applications in a really short period of time using some very innovative technology, and we're looking to see what best practice we can use to benefit the wider immigration system. Now, we've produced a large number of resources to help EU citizens and businesses understand the new system in the UK. So we've got a whole suite of materials aimed at EU nationals. So an introduction to the new system, a guide for students, a guide for workers, and a guide for visitors. And these are all available on gov.uk. And there are translated materials available there. We've also got some guides for employers, so introduction to the new system, guide to the Frontier Worker Permit Scheme. You can also listen to a podcast which kind of talks through this in a little bit more detail. And we've also got guides that help individuals understand their right to work in the UK, and also help employers understand the sponsorship process. For us, for the Home Office, the next steps are our ongoing work to make the sponsorship process more straightforward and streamlined. We're also doing a lot of work to improve the overall customer experience. We've got our graduate route that launches this summer, and we are working hard to support the EU settlement scheme to continue to raise awareness that all eligible EU nationals make an application and that nobody gets left behind. So I appreciate that was an awful lot of information. We will try and give you all the links to all the relevant guidance. But yeah, I'm going to take a sip of my drink and pass back to Francesca, and we're going to work through some of the questions you've submitted in advance.
Thank you very much, Dan. It was a very interesting presentation. I will now move to the Q&A. We'll try to address more questions that we can. We'll start with a question on internships, which I'll address to Carrie. Is there a way for an Italian national to come to the UK for an internship without a visa? Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks, Francesca. So as Dan just covered off in relation to Tier 5, to be able to undertake work placements or internships within the UK, applicants must be able to apply for the appropriate visa prior to travel. So that Tier 5 government authorised exchange route is a temporary worker visa category aimed at those coming to the UK for many reasons, including to undertake work experience, for training, to participate in an overseas government language programme, to complete research, or to complete a fellowship through one of the authorised schemes. And the full list of approved exchange schemes can be found with Appendix N on the immigration rules. So hopefully that answers that question for you.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Since you touched upon the T5 route, I would ask Dan to say a bit more about that route, because we have many companies interested in that, especially in relation to the provision of services in the UK. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Francesca. So yeah, it's probably worth me just saying some general bits, a little bit more detail about what you can and can't do without a visa. So as I kind of mentioned in the presentation, there are some general business activities that you can do as a visitor. So you can attend meetings, conferences, seminars, you can sign deals and contracts, you can carry out site visits and inspections, you can gather information for employment overseas. And there are also a number of intra-corporate activities. So an employee of an organisation based outside of the UK can give advice and consult. They can do troubleshooting. They can provide training. And an employee of a foreign manufacturer can install, dismantle, repair, service, or advise on equipment, computer software, or hardware where such manufacturer has got a contract of purchase or supply or lease with a UK company or organisation. So if an Italian company had manufactured and installed a production line for a UK company, say a couple of years ago, that UK company now wants to extend that production line. and they contract the same Italian company to supply and install the extension to this production line. That Italian company can manufacture the equipment and they can come to the UK and install it. But if they want to employ subcontractors to install it, those subcontractors would not be able to come to the UK under the visit route. They wouldn't be able to come as a business visitor. The Italian company could subcontract the installation to a UK company using staff already based in the UK, or they could install the equipment themselves. Now, we've touched upon the Tier 5 temporary worker, the international agreement worker visa. So you can use this if you'll be contracted to do work covered by an international law or treaty whilst in the UK. So if you're providing a service under contract as a contractual service supplier or an independent professional, also if you're working for a foreign government or working as a private servant in a diplomatic household. So I know that the contractual service supplier side of this is the one that people are most interested in. So I'll run through some of the requirements. So you must have been employed for 12 months outside of the UK for a business with no commercial presence in the UK. The employer must have a contract with a UK business to supply services as set out in the General Agreement on Trade Services or a similar trade agreement. You're required to hold a degree or equivalent level qualification, although there are some exemptions, and the relevant professional qualification or registration. Now, you must have at least 3 years professional experience in the sector that the services will be providing, but there is no salary requirement. There's no labour market test. There's no annual limits. There's no English language requirement, but you can't switch in and out of that visa. Your stay in the UK is only up to 12 months, dependent upon the agreement, and the route doesn't continue on to anything else. There's no settlement on the basis of you being in the UK on that particular visa. So I hope that gives you a little bit more information on that one.
That's very useful. Thank you, Dan. Is there any skills requirement related to this visa, or is just the years of experience in that sector?
So it would depend on the role that someone's coming to do. We can't really give specifics on that. It's hard to put it into a specific scenario, but we would recommend that everyone reads the guidance on that one carefully.
Thank you very much. So next question is, what is the English language requirement for skilled worker visa? Richard, could you please answer that?
Yes, thanks, Francesca. The English requirement is set at B1 level on the Common European Framework. So that's an intermediate level of English. It's not full fluency, but it's the ability to converse in common scenarios. And there's a number of different ways that people can meet that requirement. If they're from a majority English-speaking country, if they've got a degree qualification that had been taught in English, they can use that. Or if they'd proven that level of English in a previous visa application. If none of those apply, then someone would have to take one of our approved tests. They would need to score a B1 level in all 4 components. So that's reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And we've got a number of test centres in every country around the world. I think we've got 4 in Italy, but there's a list published on gov.uk.
Yes, thank you very much. Just for you to know, we've been told that there is being a couple of issues right now with the COVID restrictions in Italy, because not all centres, as you know better than me, can provide the service remotely. So we really hope the situation improves in general, and also for those workers who want to apply and need to undertake the test before applying soon. Thank you very much. So next 2 questions are about vaccines in relation to coming to the UK, or for those who are already in the UK. And so, Carrie, the 2 questions are, will Italian citizens in the UK receive the COVID vaccine? And will I need a COVID vaccine to attend university in the UK? Thank you.
Thanks, Francesca. So taking them in order, so will Italian citizens in the UK receive the COVID vaccine? Simply yes, if you're an Italian national resident in the UK, you are eligible for free testing for COVID and a vaccination against COVID. You will need to be registered with your GP, that's your general practitioner, or the NHS for them to get in touch with you to arrange that. And regarding if you're required to have a vaccine to attend university, that is not a requirement of the application obtaining permission on the student route. So you don't have to have a vaccine to get permission on the student route. But students, like any other inbound passenger to the UK, will need to provide confirmation of a negative COVID test before travel, and will be required to self-isolate for 10 days on arrival within the UK. Students travelling from or through red list countries, which are listed on gov.uk, will be required to self-isolate in a government-approved hotel upon arrival. All arrivals to the UK are also currently required to undertake further COVID-19 tests on day 2 and day 8 after arrival. So I hope that answers your question.
That is really helpful. Thank you very much, Kerry. So we now have a row of questions on the EU settlement scheme. Dan, I think you answered those. I'll start with this one. Are absences over 6 months during the pandemic considered exceptional circumstances when applying for settled status?
Okay, thank you, Francesca. So the first thing to note is that when you're applying for settled status, so the requirements are 6 months within every 12-month period, but we do already allow one absence of up to 12 months for a variety of reasons. I've mentioned them before, but they do include things like caring for a relative and military service, or all those kind of things. So we do take a pragmatic approach to absences in the UK. Now, what I would suggest is that if anyone's in any doubt, they contact our Settlement Resolution Centre either via telephone or via email to discuss their personal circumstances, because obviously your actual reasons for being outside the UK will vary from person to person. But we will be producing some guidance soon on how COVID has impacted the EU settlement scheme and give some more clarity on those requirements.
Okay, thank you very much. Second questions on the settlement scheme. We came to the UK in 1966. Do we need to apply to the EU settlement scheme?
Okay, so I like to think of this scenario like my grandparents who would have been in this scenario if they were still alive. So if you've previously received an indefinite leave to remain stamp in your passport, you don't need to apply to the settlement scheme, but you will need to evidence your status. So you need to have that document available. If you're unsure about your immigration status, so you don't know whether you previously received indefinite leave to remain or not, you can contact our Windrush team, who can help people in understanding their immigration status. Now, alternatively, you can just make an application to the EU settlement scheme. So it's really straightforward. It's a free application. If you've been in the UK since 1966, you'll receive indefinite leave to remain under the EU settlement scheme as well. And under this scheme, so indefinite leave issued under the settlement scheme is slightly more generous than issued under other immigration routes. So your period of absence outside the UK is longer under the EU settlement scheme ILR than under the previous one. So it might be beneficial. You would also benefit from the digital status as well under the EU settlement scheme, which is a lot easier for sharing and demonstrating with service providers.
Thank you very much. Next question is, what happens if I don't apply to the settlement scheme?
Okay, so I think we want everyone to apply. So until the end of June, we're doing everything we can to make sure that those who are eligible to make an application do so. Ultimately, though, if you don't make an application status to the settlement scheme, you won't have an immigration status in the UK, and you will need a status to continue to access services, to access the NHS, to work, to rent. Now, as the Minister mentioned, we will continue to accept late applications and we'll be very pragmatic about that. So the particular circumstances we've discussed, if someone, it turns out someone wasn't aware through no circumstances, circumstances beyond their control, we will continue to accept applications. Children whose parents didn't understand that they had to make an application, those are the kind of scenarios that we will be looking to continue to accept applications from. And we'll be publishing guidance shortly on there on what those reasonable grounds for late applications are. However, at the moment, we just want to encourage everyone to make an application. And if in doubt, please just contact our Settlement Resolution Centre. You can fire off an email to them. You can pick up the phone. Even if you're having problems getting hold of an identity document, you currently haven't got a passport that's in date, you're worried about if you can get it renewed in time, please, please, please just contact the Settlement Resolution Centre and they can advise you on your personal circumstances.
Great. Thank you very much. I think last question on the settlement scheme is, I live in Italy, but my partner lives in the UK and has settled status. Can I join them?
Okay, so we made some changes to the settlement scheme for the start of this year, and that opened up the settlement scheme to joining family members. So if you are a citizen protected by the withdrawal agreement, you have the indefinite right to family reunion. So that means that existing close family members, so spouse, civil partner, adorable partner, children, grandchildren, you have to read the guidance to see who fits into that category. They can come and join their EU national family member in the UK, provided that the family relationship continues to exist. It existed before the end of transition and it continues to exist now. So there is guidance available on that to see whether you fall into that category. Obviously, we can't give specific immigration advice, but there are a lot of routes to come and join an individual in the UK. Now, if you don't meet those criteria, you would have to go down our existing family visa route, and that's completely unrelated to the settlement scheme. If you don't fall into that category, there is a route available to come and join your family in the UK, but obviously it's slightly different, and we recommend that you read the requirements for that one.
Thank you very much. So last question for our Q&A session is for Richard, and is, who decides what jobs are on the UK's shortage occupation list?
Okay, so we've got an independent organisation called the Migration Advisory Committee, who advises the government on that list. They're mostly a group of labour market economists, and they review the list roughly once a year. And when they do, they issue a public call for evidence that they'll consult with businesses and any other interested parties. I suppose it's important to say about the shortage occupation list that that's not all the occupations that qualify for a skilled worker visa. They're basically, as Dan said in his presentation, any jobs that are skilled to level 3, so all professional, managerial, skilled trades jobs qualify for a skilled worker visa. The shortage occupation list is just a subset of that, which is jobs which are deemed to be in national shortage across the UK, and that gets you slightly lower salary requirements and also a lower visa application fee.
Thank you very much. I think our time is up for today. So thanks to Dan, Kerry and Richard for the time today, of course to Minister Foster and to the Home Office for organising this event with us. We'll keep informing you on all new developments, and we'll answer via email questions that we might not have covered in the Q&A session. Quindi grazie mille a tutti e arrivederci.